Welcome to Power Lunch Live. I'm Rhett Power, your host. It's good to be with you here on Thursday in December, almost Christmas time. I can't believe it that 2020 is almost over, but it is, and we're going to get into 2021 here in a few weeks. But that's not why we're here today. We're here today to talk to Greg DeLine. We're going to do that in just a second. The point of Power Lunch Live is to have today's thought leaders, best-selling authors, corporate leaders, business leaders who are doing amazing work that we can all learn from. We try to pick their brain and get a little bit of what's made them successful and understand it so that we can maybe apply it to what we're doing in our business. Now, we do this on LinkedIn Live. We broadcast on LinkedIn Live. We broadcast on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and I'm probably missing one. But we monitor those feeds during the program. So if you have a question, please shoot us a question online. We monitor those feeds, and we try to get to those questions as best we can on the program during the show. Now, as I was saying, I've got Greg DeLine on today. Greg is CEO and president of DeLine Holdings. He's an entrepreneur, a philanthropist. God, I cannot say that word today. A philanthropist. Greg has started. I can't speak English today. Greg has started and owned more than a dozen successful companies. He has a passion for relationships and helping others reach their full potential. In addition to leading various companies, Greg is the president of the board for the Phoenix programs. He's past president and current board member of Love, Inc., and is a leadership circle level sponsor of the Heart of Missouri United Way. Greg, welcome.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good to be here.
It's good to have you on the program. Wanted to talk about a bunch of things today. You're a longtime entrepreneur, so I want to pick your brain about COVID and leadership and sort of coming out of the other side of this pandemic and of this economic crisis. So we'll start there, but I want to get into your philanthropy and giving and how that has shaped you as an entrepreneur. But first things first. What have you learned from the pandemic as a leader? Has it changed you as a leader at all?
It has, and I think as I'm reflecting on that, Rhett, it's really brought more compassion. That we're all in this thing together, and it's become glaringly obvious to me that we just need to work together and support one another to survive. And basic human needs continue. We were talking before about the economy, and gee whiz, I've got several businesses that get products or whatever from different suppliers, and I'll tell you what, lumber, homes, vehicles, there's still quite a demand for that. And as a matter of fact, a large demand. So people, the basic human needs, haven't changed. And I think that's the thing we all sometimes think, oh, the pandemic, and it's true and it's real and it's something we need to be concerned about and worry about and deal with. But we've got to go on with life too.
Are you seeing? I mean, what are you seeing? I know, and you're in St. Louis. Are you in Columbia? You're in Columbia, Missouri.
Yeah, Columbia.
How's it affecting Main Street in Columbia? I mean, what do you see? Or do you see a lot of businesses that are suffering?
Oh my! The biggest thing to me, and I own a piece of a commercial real estate group, And I think the biggest thing is the restaurants, and certainly the bars, the businesses that have close personal contact, or the risk of that. I think that we haven't seen the worst of it. I think that there are some. It's kind of like in some other areas of business that I see. There's real good operators that have learned how to survive. And I'm telling you what, this is testing even some of those. And specifically that industry, the restaurants. I mean, my heart just goes out to that, because there's some really, really, really talented, good business people that have really suffered, just because some of the nicer restaurants, if you think about it, you just don't carry out. And now pizza and maybe some things like that, sandwiches you'd be used to carrying out. But some really fine restaurant operators, I mean, it's just not feasible really, and not practical to carry that out. So you lose the quality a little bit, if nothing else.
Let me ask you this: it's something you don't hear a lot about, and I don't hear the media talking about it a lot. But the impact that and you're very involved in the community from a charitable standpoint, and your involvement on boards and such. How is this affecting charities? I mean, has this had it's got to have impacted them financially.
Yeah, and Rhett, it's amazing. It's like a reverse psychology thing. First of all, I believe that, and I always say business principles and business models are universal, and as are people. And so I think generally most folks want to help. They really honestly do. And so with that, I think with the common misery that we're all going through with the pandemic since this past spring, early spring, I think the nature is a call to arms, and a call to rally, and a call to just band together. There's strength in numbers, all those things we've learned since we were a kid, and we need one another. And so the heart of society is really, it's shown me locally where people have been able to give, and then the government. I mean, honestly, they made some excess money available, and I wish that they would get that together again, because I think it's necessary. But I think that people have shared that. So I think initially, again, the desire to help has. I'm on the couple of charitable organizations that I'm a part of. We're in pretty good shape because of government, because of people wanting to help, band together, whatever. And hopefully this thing will be shorter lived now that the vaccine's a possibility, because nobody knows. We don't know what we don't know. So the future is uncertain, but we're really honestly in pretty good shape. Now, again, there may be another shoe to drop. There may be an X factor. It may continue, whatever. But I think if this vaccine becomes a reality and is applicable, I think the nonprofit world is going to be okay.
So for your businesses and going into 2021, I know this is the time of year where everybody starts doing their business kind of planning, right? And you're thinking about what happens in 2021. What's that process been like this year because of this past year? And has that, what is your outlook for 2021? Just from a growth standpoint, or,
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. So because I always tease people that I've gotten old enough to listen, and I remember the nursery rhymes when I was a kid. And so the little ant, I try to be the little ant that's going to store away things for the future. I'm going to make sure that I've got my little nest egg. And so when everybody's hitting the exits, and this is a business mentorship, if you will, when everybody's hitting the exits, I'm hitting the entrance. I've noticed that in my life. I'm going to go against the trend. If everybody doesn't win, right? Okay. Everybody doesn't win. So if everybody's going one way, Greg's going the other, and generally. And then of course you look at principles and those kind of things. But I'm really I'm optimistic about 2021. I think again that the vaccine is going to become a reality. I don't think, and I hope folks don't just think that, oh, I'll magically 2 weeks or a month it's going to be gone, because that's not true. But I think we're a forward-looking society. There's certainly after Christmas there'll be Easter stuff out 2 or 3 months ahead of time. So we're always looking forward. The stock market always looks forward, and it's a good mirror of what's to come. And so I think that anticipating the vaccine and that positivity, I think 2021 and a lot of the government programs, the tax cuts certainly, and the stimulus. I think the economy is positioned to do well, and I think a lot of that is because of or seen in the stock market. You can see that the stock market's hitting new highs, and if you at casual glance, Rhett, you'd think, why in the world is that happening? There's no reason for that fundamentally. But again, the stock market's generally a forward-looking thing. So,
yeah, it is, and it seems to me that there's some real opportunity in the market right now for that, and just some real opportunity in real estate. There's some real opportunity. I mean, just to me, it's you don't get many of these kind of events that give you this kind of opportunity that you see kind of going on right now. I don't disagree with you at all about going the other way. I think that's if you have the resources to do it, it's definitely a smart thing to look at what's hurting right now and maybe take that as an opportunity to get in. There's a lot being said right now about the future of work and that work is changing. I'll give you an example. This summer, my teenage son had his first summer job, and it was a remote job. It was online. He could sit at his, on our back deck and do his job on his computer, which I don't know how I feel about that. But is work in that way changing?
Well, I think that, and again, just looking through my lens, I think this pandemic changed our way of life for the foreseeable future. And I think even after they get this pandemic under control, if you think about it, somebody said to me the other day, they said, Greg, we've been too loving. And I don't mean that from the heart. I mean, I always tell people it's easy to speak from the heart. And so I'm talking about from the standpoint of hugs and with just people that you meet on the street or friends or new friends or whatever. So I think we need to, it's just maybe going to be a smarter way to live, to probably cut down on flu and colds and, wash your hands, maybe keep a distance. Initially it's okay, but I mean, just make sure that we play smart. And so I think in a lot of ways, it's going to change our whole society and the way that we operate. Now, again, what you're talking about, that's the different. It's going to certainly change some work environments too, and no question about it.
What I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about why giving back is important to you.
I say all the time that I want to leave the world better than I found it, and I adhere to the philosophy that you keep it by giving it away. And Rhett, a lot of that is just, it's emotional, I guess. I can be feeling really bad and really maybe overwhelmed, or I've got problems or whatever. And I found that one of the easiest ways for me to change my attitude is to do something for somebody else. And generally, if I reach out and maybe help somebody else, it gets me away from myself. And so that's just it's just a tool that I've found, that I've figured that just makes a lot of sense. And so then by helping somebody else, I'm really helping me, because I'm getting myself into a better frame of mind. So and by doing that, then I can be more productive, and rather than sitting on my lip, I can go out and maybe be productive. So it's really by helping one another, by helping other folks. I help myself. And one other point about that, I always think about. My wife says sometimes in philanthropy, she says, "Well, let's do it anonymous." So where there's an unconditional gift. And I thought about that, and I thought, Rhett, that's impossible. It's impossible to give a totally unconditional gift. And the reason being is because you get good feelings from it. And it makes you feel good about what you're able to do. And so, and I'm a Christian guy, so that rolls right into that too. So anyway, so it really puts me in a better space whenever I'm doing things for other folks.
Do you think it helps the business?
100%, 100%, 100%. I can be, well, how about this again? I think I've made a lot of my living studying and watching human nature. And if you think about it, you're walking down the street, okay? And somebody's got a scowl on their face or whatever, and maybe you smile at them and then they turn that into a smile. It's just really easy. Now I'll give you a little bit of a technique about sales, okay? So somebody told me one time, they said, okay, when you're in a sales environment, and I hand gesture, you'll see that I use my hands a lot, but so you're in a sales environment, right? Okay, so I'm gonna sell you something. So I'm doing this. I'm just talking to you. I'm kind of nodding my head, yes, and just talking to you about how I'm gonna do. So it's really hard for you then if I say, hey, would you like to do this? It's hard for you to then turn that to a no. So anyway, so I some of those just human traits and all are very important. And absolutely, people enthusiasm. How about this? Enthusiasm is contagious, and dissension is a cancer. So if you're enthusiastic, you're going to attract enthusiastic folks.
And does it? I mean, I think inside the business, I mean, they see what you're doing in the community. They see the involvement that you have. Does that help build the company culture? I mean, has that helped you establish who you are, what your values are? They see that, and that sort of transfers to the company culture, so to speak, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I say a lot of times is I'm going to hang with the winners. I'm going to go to the All-Star game and I'm going to take a bunch of All-Stars with me. And again, people want to be around that kind of a positive culture in general. I mean, I think again, enthusiasm is contagious. And so as I'm able to show that and really, I think that's a caring thing for other folks too. And so people relate that to this guy really cares. And coincidentally, I do. And so it's something that's very near and dear to my heart. But yeah, I think absolutely that it's like a magnet. It attracts positivity from the customers, and then that makes it easier to deal with, for sure.
How do you, and I'm going to qualify this question. I've been having a lot of conversations now. I was telling you about the new company, Courageous Leadership. And one of the things that I find that people have the toughest, particularly leaders, toughest thing that they have to do is have tough conversations and deal with conflict. How do you deal with conflict in your company and in general? How do you approach tough conversations? Because I love to pick people's brain about this, because it's something that we often avoid. And so I love talking to leaders who are successful and who have maybe figured out how they, their style of doing it. Because I think it's really interesting.
And that's, I just couldn't hardly wait to answer that question, because that, to me, that is a real fundamental key. I tell people a lot of times, I started my career as a banker, greenhorn kid, didn't know much. And I learned how to, I was in loans. And so I learned how to turn people down in a positive way, because you didn't want to lose their business, didn't want to lose their deposit business. That's really, it's something that I do, and I do it a lot of times just second nature. And so I've had some of my employees say sometimes, well, hey, we need for you to tell this guy, because he's going to leave here smiling no matter what you tell him. And I wish that I could can that, because a lot of that is, again, it's just a matter of looking at things positively, trying to approach things from a positive standpoint. And again, it's just the truth will set you free. How about that? And so if you can speak truth in a kind way, it's hard to argue with good reason. And so generally people know, so if I've got, I just did that the other day, and I was telling the guy, I said, this just really isn't working for me. I'm sorry. I mean, it's not everything to you, or not all about you. But for me right now, and I preach about that, everything in its time. Maybe it's just not the right time for us. Maybe in the future might be, but just now is not really the right time for us. So we need to do this in a different direction. And so just something that's kind of an example.
Are there times when that you've maybe let those conversations linger that you should have had sooner, or do you really at this stage in your career and where you are try to address that stuff really as soon as you know it's a problem?
Well, and again, that's an excellent question. So what I adhere to is, if you can swallow the tadpole, why is a tadpole? Goes down a lot easier than if you wait for him to be a big old frog and he's got them squiggly legs or whatever. So timing's really, really important. And so, I'm very active in what I do, extremely. I'm not a micromanager. But I'm very active and very knowledgeable, and I'm aware of the situations around me. And so the sooner you can deal with something, the better. I have had in my past, I mean, I've had times where I have looked the other way or let things fester. And usually I'm very, very sorry about that, because the quicker you can deal with something, the better.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I think we're all guilty of that every once in a while, and that never works out the way we want it to work out when we need to face something that's tough. And so, and that takes a certain amount of courage, I think, to do that. Do you see yourself as courageous?
I pray in the morning, almost every morning, to be right size. How does it help you for me to be small, Rhett? It doesn't. But if you're overly large, then you're, a bad guy. So I want to be just right size, and therefore not be small. So yeah, I do. I see that in myself. But then I try to again stay right size about that. I'm just like everybody else on this planet. I make mistakes. I hurt people. I fail. But the biggest thing for me is, the biggest saving grace is, everything is a learning experience. And so if you look back, you don't regret the past, you learn from it. So if I look back, or at something right now that's happening, what can I learn from it? Because if nothing else, again, it's all about trying to be positive. So I could sit there and say, oh gosh, darn it, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, and kick my butt. But if I just think, well, what can I learn from that? What's the lesson that I can learn to do it better next time? That usually helps me.
Yeah, that's wise. I love that staying right size. That's a great way to think about yourself as a leader, and how you have to sort of show up every day. I think that's really, really smart. So the last question I always ask everybody, at least the last few months, is what scares you right now, and what are you excited about that's in your view coming up, or that you're something that you're working on, something that's happening in your life. What are you scared about, and what are you excited about right now?
I can tell this isn't your first day, and those are really, really very good questions. And I wouldn't normally, if people would see me, I bet they would say that I don't appear to be scared of much. And it's inside outside. My insides are different than other folks' outsides. And I want my inside to be like what I see with other folks. I see somebody skippity doo dah, and I want to be like that. I want to feel like that. I have this adolescent childish desire to feel good all the time. But the main thing is that and give me your question again so that I can directly address it.
No, what you're scared about and what you're excited about.
Yeah. So again, it's hard for me to think about what I'm afraid of, but it's really the unknown. Just bottom line, I fear what I don't know, and there are certain X factors just in our life and in our society and in the business and personally. There are things that you have no control over, and I mean that factor can raise its ugly head any time in your life. Personally and business. I've had those situations in my life. The thing that I'm most excited about is what I've learned. I see why experience. Well, how about this, Rhett? Where are the rules written down? A lot of times they're not. You live them. It's called experience. And so the thing I'm really excited about is the experience that I've got. It's really the game of life has really become very clear to me, and so I've been accused of being a visionary, and I like that, and I a lot of it's just again from learning from the past.
Yeah, I understand that. Greg, thank you for being on the program today.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been fun to have you. And thank you for spending some time with us here today on Power Lunch Live. We'll be back next week for 2 days, and then we're off through the new year. And we'll be launching the new show, which is going to be Courageous Leadership Live. And we're going to be a whole new look, a whole new theme. And so we're wrapping up the year here at Power Lunch Live and changing things up as we've talked about a little bit. And anyway, we'll see you next week, Tuesday at noon. And if you want to check out the schedule coming up, it's powerlunch.live. And we've got the schedule coming into the new year as well. We've got with those shows we're starting to book up. So check us out there. And until Tuesday, you guys have a great weekend. Have a productive weekend. Stay safe. And we'll see you next week.